Alright guys, welcome back to another operaomnia video where we're going to be talking about the next BT character to be dropping to global operaomnia, which is none other than Tidus or Tidus, however it is that you want to pronounce it. He is going to be getting his rework, his LD, and his BT weapon. Now we're going to look into his kit. We're going to see exactly what changes he is going to be getting with the upcoming his upcoming banner release, and whether or not it is actually worth pulling on this upcoming banner, even though for many players who is a favorite of Tidus or Tidus, many players have been waiting for a good amount of time for his release and are very much excited to go ahead and throw their resources at this upcoming banner. So with that being said, if you guys do enjoy the video, consider liking the video and subscribing for future operaomnia content. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's first talk about his rework, followed by his LD weapon, and then his BT weapon. So first off, we will talk about his rework on his skill 1 and skill 2. So for his skill 1, quick hit and quick hit plus, it got an increase in total brave hits. It allows for 120% stolen brave, max brave overflow, and it triggers an HP attack now. Previously, it did not. Now for his skill 2, his slash extend, it got an increase in usage. So now you have a max usage of 9. And then whenever you use slash or slash combo, it got an increase in total brave hits, and it also inflicts a 50% attack down, a 50% defense down to the target for 6 actions. And this is as long as you have his 35 CP passive equipped. And then whenever you use the plus version of slash combo, it deals 50% splash HP damage to non-targets. Now, the other thing about his skill 1, and that is with the buff called Winning Spirit. So they adjusted it. They made a big adjustment to it, actually, where now it actually triggers a follow-up attack. So what it does is that it's now a stack type buff, and now it goes to a max stacks of 3. And the way to increase it, which only increases once per turn, is that every time that a party member acts, it will increase by 1, and then it returns to 1 stack whenever the enemy acts. So basically, to continuously make it so that those stacks keep going higher and higher, you pretty much have to not let the enemy act for any of the duration of the fight, which I mean may seem like it might kind of complicate like his whole kit in general, but like, you know, depending on like how the fight is, and also like with how Tidus is normally, with how he normally acts, because Tidus, he is a speedy character. Like he gets a pretty good amount of turn rate very quickly. So, you know, knowing that his stacks goes back down to 1 if the enemy acts, it's not too concerning, at least for me, because of the fact that he does have high turn rate, especially with his skill 1. And now that his skill 1, or excuse me, since his skill 1 does have a good amount of uses to it, it's something that is not too concerned about. And especially once we talk about his LD and we talk about his BT and what his BT effect does, is not really too concerning at all about, you know, it's the whole stacking issue is really nothing that you shouldn't be too concerned about. Now with his stacking issue, it increases the brave received from brave damage. So it'll start at 5. It'll start at 5%, then it'll go up to 10% at 2 stacks, 20% at 3 stacks, and then it'll reset after it does its final attack. Then it also gets a stolen brave, max brave overflow limit up, starting off at 5%, then it'll go to 10% at 2 stacks, at 20% at 3 stacks. It also gives him a max brave up 80%, and it does not increase based on stack count. The brave damage up is based on the debuffs on the target, so 10% per debuff up to 80%. So now that we have the ability to inflict the enemies with 8 debuffs, the more debuffs, the better it will be for Tidus in terms of brave damage. It does trigger the follow-up attack called Shot after attacking, and this excludes finishing burst and or chase sequence, and it only occurs once per turn. So he recovers brave to himself based on 70% of his own attack. So, you know, with that, you have to make sure that you focus on giving him like attack 108, attack sphere, so on and so forth. And then he deals a 2-hit ranged brave plus an HP attack. He has 120% stolen brave, max brave overflow, and then he recovers brave to himself based on 20% of the HP damage dealt. Next up, we'll talk about his LD ability called Slice and Dice, which is a 6-hit AoE melee brave plus an AoE HP attack triggered twice, which deals split HP damage, and it gives him instant turn rate. It inflicts the enemies with the framed debuffs of a 20% speed down, a 50% attack down, and a 50% defense down, all 3 debuffs, which lasts for 6 turns. It extends the current buffs that he has by 2 actions, or for 2 turns, excuse me, and he also allows for 2 free ability uses after he uses his LD ability. Afterwards, he grants himself a special effect called Blitz Off, which is also granted whenever the quest begins with Slice and Dice passive equipped. It starts at 0 stacks with a max stacks of 3, and it increases by 1 stack each time the follow-up attack shot is used. Now, it also gives him a 20% attack up, a 20% HP damage delta, and a 20% stolen brave, max brave overflow limit up, and the effects do not increase based on stack count. Now, whenever he reaches 3 stacks, shot turns into Jack Shot, which cancels all enemies' break status. He recovers brave to himself based on 70% of his own attack, and it is a 4-hit AoE ranged brave plus single target HP attack. When against a single target, it increases the brave damage dealt by 60%. It allows for 150% stolen brave, max brave overflow, and it deals 80% splash HP damage to non-targets. He also recovers brave to himself based on 20% of the HP damage dealt to the target, and it does consume 3 stacks of the Blitz Off after use, and it goes back down to 0, and then you pretty much have to do the whole process over again to take advantage of the Jack Shot. Finally, we'll talk about his BT weapon, which is called Apocalypse, and equips him the BT ability called Blitz Ace. Now, this attack is a 1-hit melee brave plus an HP attack 12 times. And before the last HP attack, he recovers brave to himself based on 50% of the total HP damage dealt. And on the last HP attack, he deals 20% splash HP damage to non-targets. His max brave damage cap up is increased by 150% or up to 24,997, and his max HP damage cap up is increased by 50% or up to 149,998. It triggers the following burst effect for 10 actions. While Winning Spirits is active, shot will trigger twice in a turn. The party will receive a brave damage delta of 50% and a max brave damage cap up 20%, or they can do up to 11,998. And the party, whenever they are inflicting break or attacking a broken target, will also get a 20% HP damage delta, and the same character's burst effect will not stack. So now we get to the point in the video where you try to determine whether or not it is actually worth pulling for Tidus's LD and or BT weapon, just based off of my opinions, off of my experiences that I had using him in the JP side of operaomnia. So my opinions on his kit, on when he got his LD and BT, I had a lot of fun with his kit. I love the fact that they gave him follow-ups. I love the fact that his BT effect gave him a double follow-up, which in turn meant that he would be doing extra damage. It also meant that it would build up his stacks faster, which in turn would help him in achieving his Jack Shot much faster. Now, one thing that I wanted to mention in this part of the video was one thing that I mentioned earlier in this video, which was related to his skill 1, and the fact that if you let the enemy act, his stacks on his Winning Spirit would reset back down to 1. Now, with his LD ability, the fact that you are able to get 2 free skill uses after you use it will help you in terms of fighting against the enemy from them acting, which is a good thing, because not only will you get that instant turn rate if you use Tidus' skill 1, but it also builds up their brave to the point where you will be able to break them once again, which will push them back a little bit more. And then of course, if you were to combine Tidus with another character like that would delay, if you were to combine Tidus with Core, which would help out in building up that little bit of brave on the enemy so that you can break him excuse me, so that you can break the enemy even faster, that would be another plus to help out Tidus as well. Now, in terms, or I guess if we talk about his BT, like I mentioned not too long ago, the fact that you were able to do 2 of his follow-ups, which will help out in increasing his stacks much faster, and you will be able to cancel the enemy's break status, which will have them push the enemy even more, will help you so that you don't have to worry or hardly worry at all about letting the enemy act, which will have you not worry about having to have your stacks on the winning spirit buff get reset back down to 1, so that way you can continue on with the follow-ups and everything else that it is that you have to do. And like, even when you go into burst phase, even when you go into the summon phase, you already know that if you prep Tidus, if you make sure that you get his stacks ready so that you can get as much jet shots as possible during the burst phase or the summon phase, you'll be good to go. You will be taking advantage and getting some good numbers out of him. And of course, now that we have the call abilities and everything, you know, if we have good debuffers, right? If you have any debuffers, like say a Mediterranean, Ferris, Jack, any type of call abilities that inflicts debuffs on the enemies, that is also going to help Tidus in terms of brave damage, because that will also help out in the amount of HP and in the amount of total HP damage that he's going to be doing, because remember, he does also recover in amounts of brave back. And another good thing that will also help him out is having a good battery with him. Having a character that does provide him with good battery is another great thing about him. So that, like, let's just say if you want Tidus to be your only your only DPS character on your team, and if you want to bring somebody that is a poor character, like, I don't know, let's say Poem, right? If you want to take advantage of what she already does and provide great battery with her to help out with Tidus, and by the time it's Tidus' turn, you already have a good amount of battery to start off with, and you gain some of that break back whenever you do that follow-up, and you still get some of that break back afterwards. I mean, like, you're pretty much good to go. Like, you got that rotation going and going and going throughout the entire fight. So there's many things that you can actually do with Tidus that you can take advantage of. Now, the difference between like Tidus and Cloud of Darkness, one of the big differences that I like about Tidus is the fact that if you were to break an enemy, it does not hurt you, especially if you were to bring a friend Tidus, where let's say if you break the enemy, you do not get like that instant turn rate, which would kill like any of your like your burst effects, your friends, what do you call it? Jesus, I just had it at the tip of my tongue. If you bring the friend support, yes, the friend turns, friend turn them out, whatever you call it. You know, it will basically, like, it's kind of like the slight opposite of Cloud of Darkness, where, like, you know, Tidus will be in the battlefield a little bit or much longer than Cloud of Darkness, because with Cloud of Darkness, you know, if she breaks somebody, then it's like, oh, hey, I'm right back up in front of the field once again, compared to Tidus was like the complete opposite. So, but overall, though, I mean, like, Tidus, he's very much a solid character. When he gets his BT plus, he becomes a much more solid character, because you will have another BT effect of his for future usage. So I mean, like, and he becomes, I mean, he, in my opinion, he does not lose anything as the months go by until his BT plus. I think he does just fine. It's just, of course, you know how it is, like whenever like the new toys come, of course everybody tends to forget about the previous ones because they always want to play with the newer toys. But no, whenever Tidus does get his BT plus, he does become a solid monster once again, and he does get a few additional add-ons to his BT effect as well. So overall, though, I mean, like, if you do pull for him now, you know, it is a pretty good investment for the future, for the BT plus era. And, you know, you are definitely getting yourself a strong character and a favorite if he is one of your favorites, if you have played Final Fantasy X. So, but overall, that's going to be it for the video. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what your pull plans are for this upcoming banner and what you guys think about Tidus himself. But other than that, if you guys did enjoy the video, consider liking the video and subscribing for future operaomnia content. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in my next video.